Calling the meeting to order. Calling the meeting to order. The committee will convene into executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46-4, and 5 for the purpose of legal advice regarding pending cases pursuant to Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46-582, and then lastly to consider on a motion to adjourn and into open session. Are there any motions for this?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye? All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Calling the meeting to order. Calling the meeting to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. Thank you. First, I'll entertain a vote to seal the executive minutes pursuant to provisions of the Rhode Island General Law, Section 42-46, and 5. Is there a motion? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Give it to Ryan. Give it to Ryan. Ryan will take the second.
All that say aye? All that say aye? Aye. Sealed. Next item, please.
The next item is student liaison. Nathan Tavares, East Providence High School.
Good evening. The EPHS theater program put on an amazing performance of Les Mis from the 4th through the 6th, featuring guest star Mr. Black. The senior merch shop is now open. All purchases need to be made before April 12th. The link can be found on the weekly Townie News. Today, Mrs. Courtney Braga was announced to be this year's EP Teacher of the Year. Mr. Anderson has been awarded the East Providence Youth Council Impact Award for impacting students in the most meaningful way. An award dinner will be held on May 2nd to honor Mr. Anderson. This week, the EP Herd is hosting a Spirit Week that is focusing on fun activities to unite the student body. The Vaccinate Before You Graduate program is being held on April 11th at UPHS. Students will have the opportunity to attend the Summer Job Fair during WIN on April 24th in order to search for employment over the summer. The annual Empty Bowls fundraiser will be held on Thursday, April 25th from 5 to 7:30 in the Student Commons. The National Honor Society will be participating in the Imagine Walk for Autism Awareness on April 28th. There have been a few big updates in the CTC this past month. 510 applications were received for students in grades 8 through 10 for the 11 technical programs. Currently, there is only space for 260 students, so it is anticipated that many applicants will be placed on the wait list. The construction program made a playhouse for the Rosemary Wish Kids organization. This project was showcased at the Rhode Island Home Show last weekend, where it was then given to the young recipient. EPHS students were very successful in this year's Skills USA competition. 39 students were awarded either a bronze, silver, or gold medal, and 12 students qualified for the national competition in Atlanta. Spring sports are starting to pick up this year. Boys volleyball has been busy with a 3-1 record. Boys tennis won their first game of the season 5-2 against Cranston West. And girls lacrosse also won their season opener against Cranston East 8-4. That is all I have for you tonight. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Next is Olivia McMahon, Riverside Middle School.
Good evening, Dr. Fernand, Dr. Bowler, Ms. Corsi, and the members of the school committee. Saturday, March 23rd was our Unified Champion School Plunge to benefit Special Olympics Rhode Island. It took place at Roger Wheeler State Beach in Narragansett. The RMS team raised $1,047 for this endeavor. The 1st of April was our community cleanup, where we went outside and cleaned up litter around the fields at RMS, trying to promote a clean environment. It also gave students some community service hours that they would need for National Junior Honor Society. April 5th was the end of the 3rd quarter for RMS, bringing us into the last quarter of the school year. The softball, baseball, and track season has just started for our school, bringing opportunity for students to try something new. Also, the Boys and Girls Club partnered with RMS, bringing flag football and volleyball for our school. Also, on April 5th, students completed the ELA portion of RICAS test. We'd like to thank our teachers, guidance department, administration, and families for preparing us to do our best. We will complete the math portions on April 30th and May 2nd. Finally, we are honoring Arbor Day this month by planting trees around the school to support healthy plant life for our earth. By doing so, we are leaving a footprint on the school and community, promoting a healthy and green future. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Does anyone have any questions?
Next item.
The next item is consent agenda.
I propose tabling the April 1st, special committee meeting, approval of minutes. Those proposing to move it up to our regularly scheduled committee meeting next month. Is there a motion for that?
I will make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Will be tabled for next month. Is there any other motion regarding the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? All that say aye? Aye. Consent agenda approved. Next item, please.
The next item is PTA EPLAC reports.
Good evening. We had our last EPLAC meeting on March 27th. We had a really large attendance, which was nice to see more people out. We have our wonderful area of our meeting called Tell Us Something Good. So we'd like to report that Carl Sweeney was able to work with Silver Spring School to do their kindness bags for the homeless. And those all had notes handwritten by the students, which was wonderful. We had the unified basketball game, was great. They did a good job against Hope High School. And we want to thank the East Providence lacrosse high school lacrosse team and administration for supporting our unified students. Also reporting that the East Providence special hockey game, even though we lost to Warwick, but we were thankful for everybody who came to support our students. We also had the Special Olympics polar plunge, just like the other student had reported. The East Providence Unified team also raised money for that. And also, we want to report that the Townie News Network now offers inclusion, and one of our students is now working with them doing live video. So we were really excited for that. And we were also able to report that there was also a new art club that was going to be doing inclusion as well. And it was also reported that the high school is now offering a study hall for the students there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that's all. Oh, sorry. And of course, we have our upcoming recognition night on May 1st. All of the nominations and honorees have been communicated with, and we're looking forward to all of you attending. Thanks.
Next item, please.
The next item is superintendent's report.
Can I just sit here? I just want to let everyone know that as president of RMS PTA, we were able to raise quite a lot of funds this year. And we as a group decided that we were going to donate some of our funds that we raised to other schools in the district this year. So we were able to help out the high school and Martin Middle School and the pre-K program by donating some of our sales per Saturdays that we had our fundraisers from October until March to those schools, not only to help RMS, but to help all the schools that we can. I've been in touch with White Neck, and we're going to work with White Neck next year as well. Well, somebody from RMS PTSA will be working with you. So I just want to let you guys know that we had such a great fan base that came every Saturday, and I think all that did come. Superintendent came, Lori Marchand came, like a good group of people. Glenn Sardano came, like it was a great group of people, and we were able to do quite a lot. And with that money, we will be doing a great end of the year for the students at Riverside Middle School. So, thank you.
Next item, please.
Superintendent's report, Dr. Ferrand.
Oh, yes. We have two principals. I am so sorry. I don't know what's happening today. We have two principals today that are going to be doing a report. We have White Neck and Silver Spring, including Principal Kelly Giulietti and Allison Amodi.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Giulietti. I'm the principal at White Neck. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. So tonight I wanted to highlight some of the work that we have been doing around PBIS at our school this year. It is not something that's brand new, but something that we were kind of rejuvenating. This was in place prior to COVID, and kind of a lot of the pieces fell apart. And so we've done a lot of work this year to bring this back. Next slide, please. So what is PBIS? PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention Support. And this is a model where we're teaching students what to do rather than telling them what they should not be doing. We try to recommend to everyone that we use at least 5 positive comments that they make for every 1 negative comment. All of our work in PBIS is rooted in our core values at White Neck, which are respect, being respectful, responsible, and proud. Next slide, please. So why PBIS? Part of our school improvement plan, one of our values in our school improvement plan for this year is that we would create a warm and welcoming school climate. And that has everything to do with relationships at the core of the heart of our work that we do. We want to create that welcoming and safe environment for all students where they feel comfortable coming to school and ready to take those kind of academic risks. We want every student to feel that they belong, and that is in turn will help us with our academic and learning success. One of our measurable goals in our school improvement plan for this year was to increase the percentage of students feeling respected by their peers at school, as reported in the SurveyWorks survey. So in 2023, 52% of students reported that feeling of respect by peers, and our goal is to increase that to at least 60% for the spring of this year. In two of our action steps for our school improvement plan, we launched the introduction with our students to the core values of respectful, responsible, and proud. And we have embedded those core values into all of our teaching. So when you come into the school, you will see posters hanging up around in all different areas of the hallways with visuals of those core values. Next slide, please. So our PBIS team has met usually every other Friday each month, and we worked together to create our White Neck Code. The Code of Conduct, you can see it's quite extensive, but what it does is it breaks down different locations in the school. So in the hallway, in the bathroom, in the cafeteria, at recess, when we're using technology, and even extending to when we're on the bus, we have designated what are examples of how students can show each of these core values in each of these locations. Grade level lessons were held. Myself and Dean Amy Almada went into classrooms and introduced each of these to the students. We had some visuals to support to show them what each of these core values looks like in each location and clearly define our expectations in the school. For our younger learners, we had some picture books that were created by teachers to help review those expectations. And over on the right is kind of some sample pages from our hallway book showing the students what it looks like and sounds like to be respectful, responsible, and proud in the hallway. Next slide, please. So that large matrix is broken down into smaller posters. The sign that you see all the way over to the left has been on display in the building since the start of the school year when we first introduced these core values to the students. And we are now in the process of, now that we've introduced and had those targeted grade level expectation meetings, hanging posters in the hallways that are specific to what the core values look like in each location. So there will be posters in the hallways, posters in the bathrooms, posters in the cafeteria, and before students go outside for recess, the staff that's responsible for taking them out will review what the recess expectations are as well. Next slide, please. So we've done a lot of work with recognizing the core values for our students. Number one is our Student of the Month assemblies. We invite our families for any of the students who are recipients of Student of the Month. All teachers, all staff in the school have the ability to nominate a student each month for Student of the Month. I have instituted positive office referrals in the school. Teachers are encouraged to submit 2 positive office referrals per week. The students are presented with a certificate. We shout out over the intercom and or at our Student of the Month assemblies to celebrate them. We are working right now, our next phase with PBIS is PBIS tickets. So all staff is going to be getting tickets with the little anchor down at the bottom. When students are kind of caught showing the core values, it's not something that we want to be handing out to every student in the classroom because you did a nice job lining up. It's really kind of recognizing and catching those students in the act when it's not expected. We collect all of the tickets, and at the end of each week, we'll be doing a prize raffle for 3 to 5 students whose names are picked. We also have our kindness tree on display right in the front hallway, right outside of the main office. There is a picture of our kindness tree there. It's cut off a little bit, but kind of same idea. We've had slips that staff in the building have been completing anytime they've caught a student being kind. We announce the student's name on the intercom. They get to put their name on a seasonal. In the fall, it was a leaf. In the winter, it was a snowflake. We have shamrocks. We have hearts from Valentine's Day, umbrellas for April. They get to put their name on it and display it on our kindness tree. And then we also, during our monthly Student of the Month assemblies, give out Safety Superstar Awards. Our students on Safety Patrol have been empowered to recognize students when they are on their duties, to be able to shout out other students that they see that are demonstrating our core values, but particularly safety. And during our Student of the Month assemblies, those Safety Patrol students will present a certificate to the student that they're recognizing for their safety behavior. So those are kind of the highlights of everything we're doing to really create a positive environment at White Neck and to help students to feel safe, to feel empowered, and to feel as though they are able to come in every day and do their best work in learning. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Allison Amity. I'm the principal at Silver Spring School. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about family and community engagement. Next slide, please. So in our school improvement plan, it was one of the goals crafted for the school improvement plan was around family engagement. From the survey works data, they pulled out that families' perception of the degree of which they're involved with the school was around 17% last year. And so because of that, the school, we decided as a team to create a goal around that. So if you go to the next slide, please. Our school improvement goal this year is to increase families' engagement perception on the survey works from 17% to 22% by the end of this school year. And so as you know, survey works just took place, and so we're hoping to see an increase there. And obviously the 22% seems like a low number, and we would hopefully grow that number a lot higher than that, but we wanted to also put in reasonable goals as how survey works, you know, the percentages move throughout the year. And so some action steps that we put in place to try to achieve that goal and to get more families engaged in our school community were to obviously publish a calendar of events, publish a monthly calendar, communicate monthly through our newsletter, collaborate with the PTC, which is our PTA, they call it the PTC, and communicate with families regularly through Dojo. Next slide, please. And so here's a list of some of our family engagement events that we had at our school this year. I just want to highlight a few of them for you. We had a Winter Wonderland event at the beginning of November, at the end of November, sorry. And it was a night for families to come in and do some crafts, and we had a Frosty showing and had a snack, and families just to engage with each other and to help their students along in different activities to kind of welcome in winter. We had Stream Night at the middle of March. We had a science theme this year, so STREAM obviously stands for science, technology, engineering. We use the R as reading, arts, and math, and so this year our focus was on science, and we had activities and different experiences and experiments for families to participate in together in the evening, and we had different crafts and a snack for them as well. Again, a night where families came together and students and families worked and parents and guardians worked together at the different stations to play with circuits, play with the different experiences, make Play-Doh. Those were the kind of events at Stream Night. And then our upcoming event in May that I want to highlight is Books and Breakfast. And this is a picnic type event that we have in the morning before school where students and families come and have breakfast together outside in our playground area in the park. And then each family and student get to select some books to take home. Again, preparing for the summer, and it's a nice time to bring people together. This event is also in the morning as opposed to the others in the evening, so it gives, you know, working families, if you can't come to an evening event, this is a morning event that you might be able to attend, or vice versa. Next slide, please. And so part of family engagement is providing families resources to support them through the journey in school and supporting their student. A couple of things that I would like to highlight for you is the addition this year of our Health Equity Zone Family Navigator, the HES Family Navigator. So again, connecting families with the Family Navigator has provided them access to more resources. Some of the things that the Family Navigator has been able to do with some of our families is assist with housing, assist with childcare, both before and after school. She helps them fill out medical and dental forms so that they can have health insurance. She has helped them receive referrals for mental health services. And so it just provides another outlet for our families to help reach out and provide more support. They have the Family Navigator, Cassie, has resources at her disposal so that we can say, okay, you know, you need help with this, she's right here. She might have names of some agencies that we don't have names with or resources that they can connect with. And so we're really working with the Family Navigator and all these other support resources to kind of create a hub of support for families and students so that families feel more engaged and more connected to the school. They don't have to go look elsewhere. You can look right here at the school, and we're going to try to help you with these things. Something else that we've really tried to do this year is we have a Roadrunner trait of the month. And so during our Student of the Month assembly, we talk about what does it mean to be respectful? What does it mean to have integrity? What does it mean to have perseverance? And so we talk about those things throughout the month in our classrooms, but we also, in our monthly newsletter, send home resources for families to reinforce those traits with their students at home. So how are they bringing those SEL traits, such as respect, such this month is charity? How can you talk about those things with your students at home? So again, drawing that line from school to home, that there's a nice partnership between those two. So when the student comes home and says, Mom, I talked about integrity, Mom can say, oh, I know about that, and here's some other things that we can talk about here at home as well. Next slide, please. And another part of family engagement that we're really passionate about is community engagement and really getting our students into the community and working with the community. So here's a list, a couple of things that we've done this month, not this year, sorry. And I wanted to highlight specifically at the bottom, and you heard a little bit about it earlier, is the Kindness Club. This is something that we started this year with Mr. Carl Sweeney in the Hope and Faith Drive. We meet with 4th and 5th graders bi-weekly on Tuesday afternoon, so we had a meeting today, and the students come up with things that they want to do for the community. So some examples of things that they've done so far this year that I'd like to share with you that I think are really admirable. They've done gifts for nursing homes. They created ornaments at Christmas time for veterans. They created positive high fives for our school that they got to go put around, and kids in the hallway can high five the positive messages. They created bags and cards for an animal rescue. They created special crafts for their teachers to surprise them at their desks. You heard that they made bags for the homeless of toiletries, snacks, a special card. And today they started to work on things for Teacher Appreciation Week. So we're super proud of the work that the Kindness Club has done, and again, outreaching to the community about things that are important to students. So I share these things with you not only because they're in our school improvement plan, but because they are some of the ways that we're working together with families and the community to help grow our students into well-rounded members of our community. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Sorry about that. Because we have a special guest speaker for the building committee report, the superintendent has a I'm so sorry about that. Okay, there we go. Because we have a special guest speaker, the superintendent said it was okay for us to move forward to the next item under the superintendent's report, the finance update. So if we could have our director, Craig Enos, please join us for an update. Right? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. For the finance report, year-to-date for last fiscal year, our numbers remain the same. We haven't had any more invoices or revenue come in for last fiscal year. So that pretty much remains the same for the year end. In terms of year-to-date for fiscal year 24, we do remain on target. There's nothing really that is jumping out to note for you at this particular point in time. Are there any questions that you have that I can answer?
I don't have any questions, but I'm not sure if the committee before. No. We're all set, Craig. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item, please.
The next item is Policy Committee report.
First, we have the student behavior policy, and the following is the student representative to the school committee policy as well. I'll turn over the table to. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so for first read for student behavior policy, this is a general student behavior policy. This is not outlining anything in particular. I'm going to read it just so people at home can hear it. In keeping with Rhode Island General Law 16-2-17, Right to a Safe School, East Providence Public Schools recognizes that each student, staff member, teacher, and administrator has a right to attend and/or work at school which is safe, secure, which is conducive to learning, and which is free from the threat, actual or implied, or of physical harm. The school committee or a school principal, as designated by the school committee, have a right to investigate and issue consequences based on the findings of the investigation according to the Code of Conduct, East Providence policy, and Rhode Island general laws. Nothing in this section shall relieve the school committee or school principals from following all procedures required by state and federal laws regarding discipline of students with disabilities. The superintendent or their designee shall review annually the discipline data collected in accordance with the specifications set forth in Rhode Island General Law 16-60-4-21 to determine whether this discipline imposed has a disproportionate impact on students based on race, sex, sexual identity, ethnicity, social economical status, or disability status, and to appropriate response to any disparity that needs an S at the end. The administration shall develop codes of conduct included in student handbooks for the purpose of identifying unacceptable student conduct, approved annually, and that's what I just highlighted. It will be approved annually by the school committee. These codes of conduct shall be distributed to all students at the beginning of each school year. Codes of conduct shall address and deal with matters relating to, without limitation, student conduct during school, on transportation, or while attending any school-sponsored or related activity, whether it's held on or off school property. Parents and students will be required to acknowledge the codes of conduct with a signature and date and return it to school by the end of September. So what this policy is that I need students to be aware of their behaviors and their parents to understand that those behaviors set forth by our codes of conduct are what the school district expects while at the above mentioned outings and in school. As it is right now, we do require acknowledgement of the code of conduct, but what we're seeing is that's, not happening. Students are not aware of what they are or how they are supposed to act in school. They do not speak well to teachers. I've seen it with my own eyes. I know most of us here have, and I need students and parents to understand that there needs to be a respect level in our schools, and that everyone is entitled to learn and come to work feeling safe and secure. So at least this policy, once signed by the parent and the student and dated, if anything were to occur, they could go back to that and say, look, it was right here. You are not supposed to vandalize school property. You are not supposed to disrespect teachers or deans. You are not supposed to threaten anybody in your school. You are not supposed to bring weapons or tobacco or vapes in your school. It says it right here on this paper that both guardians and parents signed. We can go back to it and say, because of the code of conduct that you now are aware of, this is the ramifications of your actions. Any questions, concerns? Again, this is first read. If you have anything you'd like to add, eliminate, or please check my spelling, as I am not the best speller.
I'll just say that I am in support of this. I think it, like you already said, it's been a pretty challenging year, I think, overall in the district to see. There is a challenge with students and behavior, so I think this definitely puts it up to the forefront to make sure at the beginning of the school year that this is the expectations that we expect from our students and as well as parents should the occasion arise where they need to come in and speak with any administrator regarding their kids' behavior. So I'm in support of it.
I mean, I do want to add that the code of conduct does need a revisit, but I am not one to sit here and decide as a school committee member, in my opinion, what the code of conduct is in a school when I'm not in a school. So I think that is a working document that I would love to have with administration and teachers and students. Yeah, exactly. Yep, so once that is worked on, and it does need worked on because it does need to come up into, you know, the 2024s, and the problems that are arising now are not the problems that we had in 2008. So, you know, COVID has made an issue, has caused issues on children, and we are seeing that, and we need the ones that are disrupting to be held accountable. That's my opinion. Some people won't like it, but anything?
Yeah, if this is to become a requirement, who would be charged with tracking and ensuring completion, and would there be consequences attached to any students who are unable to return with a signature by the end of September?
So I thought about that, and as policy writers as we are, we're not always the people that, you know, put it to practice. However, again, I'm one to say you can't go out for a sport, you can't sing in the chorus, you can't play an instrument, you can't go on a field trip. Again, those are privileges. Coming to school is a necessity. If you really want to do those things and you want to participate in those things, then you need to agree with the code of conduct. I would assume that the principals would have to take it on, or somebody in their office or somebody in their school. I'm well aware that they already have their hands completely full, but we need to take action. The discipline paperwork that we all get every week and how many people are being suspended and in school suspension should be enlightening for everybody sitting at this table.
Any comments or questions regarding this specific item?
I just want to say just that I agree with you as far as the vandalism that our schools are dealing with. Money's going to be extremely tight, which the taxpayers will see coming up very shortly. So as this policy goes into effect, I just want all the taxpayers, mothers, fathers, kids, if you vandalize these buildings, you are going to pay a very expensive cost. I want to see if we can go after the parents and make sure the kids are held accountable. It's we're building another brand new junior high, and we have to get in front of these issues. So we just have to stay focused on this the next month or two and bring this back to this committee and then make it become policy. So I want to thank you for that.
And I just didn't hear all the way down on this side of our tables. Is there a committee already in place to oversee this?
There is. We've been working on the code of conduct.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh. Yes, we've been working on the code of conduct. It's the same committee that was working on the dress code originally. The dress code was part of the code of conduct. So they are meeting on a regular basis. Celeste has been attending. Mrs. Messi has been attending. So they have been working on updating that. So we will have it in place by before the school year starts, so it can be approved in the handbooks.
And just to confirm, there is parents being brought in to.
Oh my God! You shouldn't have a microphone.
Something's wrong with this seat. I guess without really disclosing too much information, but there have been incidences where bills are sent out to parents in the event that there has to be some sort of reimbursement for like physical damages to property. Is that something that you can confirm, Superintendent? Okay. And next, before I even go on to the next policy one, but is there any other question or comments regarding?
Actually, if I could just ask one question. So, what's like the general process for annually like reviewing the discipline data? Like what data is, used, and like how in-depth is that process?
I believe, so I put that in there because based on my knowledge, it has to be done legally by the superintendent anyway for disparity reasons. So that can be shared with us, and again, that I know that legally has to be done.
I'm not sure if you wanted to add. Okay. Any other question or comments from the committee?
I'm just thinking, would it make sense if we're talking about things that need to be approved annually to attach either a quarter or like a month to that term annually, so that therefore there's like an accountability that we can be held at and our administration can also be held attached to. Something that says annually, it's not necessarily set in stone, and therefore it can get overlooked or bypassed, whether on purpose or not on purpose. And therefore, if there was something that was in this policy that was either by the end of quarter 2, quarter 4, by the end of 6:30 or whatever it may be, I think that might be beneficial for folks who are trying to uphold these policies.
I'll go to the superintendent on that, but wouldn't it the end of August be appropriate?
So we usually so this is included in the handbook, so we usually try to bring you the handbooks by May-ish or June, the handbook for next year, so that they can get them ready to go out. So if we do it by June for September.
How about July?
Or July.
Yeah, June's rough, yeah.
They're usually ready. We usually have them, but if we put July.
By July 1 or July 30th?
Whatever one.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think the end of July might make the most sense. So that way.
By July 30th, you good with that?
Yep.
Okay, that's perfect. That's why those two things are highlighted, the annually and the required, because I think so often we overlook the fact that there are required paperwork. Like if everyone filled out the meals, if we made that required before anything, we might have more money coming towards us. But I think that the requirement, again, it's just reading and accepting it. I'm assuming if somebody had a problem with something on the code of conduct, they could take that up individually with the principal or the superintendent. But the codes of conduct are what we all do every day. It's not asking for above and beyond. It's being respectful, coming to school to learn. So.
And also, going forward, like assuming this policy is implemented and everything, at the end of each September, would the school committee be able to get like access to the percentage of students/families that do submit these versus don't?
Yeah, so I would like to do that just like we did with the residency form, but we need to hold people accountable. And unfortunately, the residency forms still that are out there are very, very high for certain schools. So I think we do need to hold these accountable. Again, this is for first read, so if you go back and you think or you want to talk about whether or not there needs to be some kind of, work, we talk to the AD, or we talk to, the music department or whatever, and try to work with those into the fact that maybe they can't participate until this paper is signed. I know in order for you to participate in a sport here, you have to have 25 pages signed left and right, notarized by a notary, and that doesn't stop our athletes from participating. So again, this is, if parents and children want to participate in those activities, they will have this signed. But I did not put that in the policy.
Any other questions or comments regarding the student behavior policy? Would you like to go, Jessica, would you like to go on to
Oh,
the
student
rep?
representative. So the student representative to the school committee policy. We don't have a policy. Right now, we have student representatives that come on their own goodwill, thanks to the administration and the staff that helps them out and gets them here. This is an actual policy that would put somebody here. I'm not going to read it all to you because it is lengthy, but I will go over the parts that you may need to know. The purpose of this would be for the opinions and concerns of the students at East Providence Public Schools that are important to the school committee. Therefore, this policy aims to establish the position of a student representative to the East Providence School Committee. The East Providence School Committee recognizes the value of having a student representative to the school committee for input into decisions that affect all students. The purpose of this participation is to help the school committee gain greater insight into school activities, programs, and needs for the high school, to encourage student involvement in school district governance activities, to provide for the active participation of students in their education, to foster inquiry whereby students may freely express their views and listen to and evaluate the opinions of others. The student representative is not a member of the school committee, but serves in a non-voting advisory capacity representing the interests of the students at East Providence High School. The student's representative shall make an earnest effort to attend meetings and shall be encouraged to attend all workshops and meetings. This would not, our middle school would not be discontinued. That would continue, I would hope, via the principals at those schools. This is so that someone will sit at this table with us. They will not stand up, they will be sitting with us at this table. They're a non-voting member, but they will represent. The selection process, I am leaving up to the principal of this school, because I don't believe we sitting here should be picking that person. So all I have put at this time is any member of the junior class who is a student in good standings and meets the eligibility requirements for extracurricular activities as detailed in the East Providence High School, going right back to the handbook, is eligible to serve as a student representative to the school committee during their senior year. That's all I'm putting. If Mr. Black thinks that there are other requirements, or anybody in his administration thinks that there are other requirements, that's their purview, that's not ours. I do have that we can remove the person though, however, at the discretion of the school committee, if for failure to fulfill their duties, for failure to maintain academic standards, abide by the school committee governing principles, or for behaviors that we deem unacceptable as a member of the committee. As I've already said, the role would be a liaison. They would sit with us, they could chat with us, they would attend our meetings. Again, we know it's a school night, so I have said that they should come and attend the whole meeting, but we know they need to go home and do their homework. They need to get their things done. I'm not asking that they stay. If they want to, that's great, but I would like them to be part of our conversation. There are stuff that none of us here work in the school, so, well, the committee, and we would love to hear their opinions. So we would like to hear topics, concerns. They could provide reports. They may be able to propose future agenda items. This all comes about because the dress code was student-led in East Providence. All 4 of us at this table went in 2 shifts to a classroom that we were invited to where students gave us their opinions and their reasoning behind their opinions. They just didn't say, change it, change it, change it. They actually gave reasons, and it changed. And you can, whether it's better or good, I don't see many people complaining, but kids now can just get dressed and go to school. They don't have 5 changes beforehand. They're not dress coded, that whole verb I haven't figured out yet. You don't always hear, my daughter no longer comes home and says, oh, 8 people got dress coded today. Nope, it's about learning and academics. So again, this all comes about, what else do we not know, and what else can we help students better themselves in and get back to learning? So the other part of it is the superintendent and a member of the school committee will establish a formal liaison between the student and a school committee member of central office administration or central office administration. They will meet with the student representative at the beginning of the school year to review expectations, responsibilities, and participation. So the only highlighted part you have is the selection process, which again, I don't feel comfortable doing. But as a first read, I am open for criticism, comments, suggestions. Or I've talked too much and you've fallen asleep.
So with the attendance requirement be limited only to like regular school committee meetings, or would it like include special meetings or additionally scheduled meetings per month? Obviously not including like executive sessions.
Right, so it does say they would receive the meeting agenda prior, like when we do, and it would be distributed to us and them in advance, except for materials, if you read, relating to individual students, individual employees, or other confidential matters. They may grant permission for a student representative to leave a meeting before the conclusion. Once a student report has been given, they would sit with us at the table, participate in regular open meetings, it says open meetings, at school committees. They may not make a motion or vote. So, yeah, they would come to our normally scheduled meetings. And any, like I wrote in here, like any other workshops if they wanted to, depending on their availabilities. Correct. And if it was important to them.
Something that I found to be really successful with the instance you're referring to last year with the students who had a drive to help to create and make change for policies that affected them directly was the fact that it was teacher-led. We were invited by a teacher to come to visit her classroom, and those students were led by the teacher, challenged by the teacher as part of curriculum in terms of like the writing class. And so my question I have with this really is, a concern is almost that if we invited a student to come here and to sit at this table, where is it kind of feels like it's missing that like teacher-led, there was a classroom full of peers. Now there was a handful of folks last year in that instance who were very vocal, and you could tell who were really passionate about trying to dig into policy and learn about the skills to write policy and really into that, but not everybody was, right? So my point being is that if a student representative was sitting here, would there be like an additional component that would be attached to any piece of curriculum in the classroom during their school day? Almost like if someone came here to sit with the school committee, would they, if they had zero interest in things that were going on in our agenda, where would be like how would it be like a necessity, how would it be a benefit for that student or this committee to have them here, right? If there was no attachment to a piece of curriculum they were involved with, or if they weren't coming here to give like a driven report that they had prepared, like the students we have that come currently, what would be like the ultimate benefit for that student and the student body that they would necessarily be representing?
So, in my opinion, a student who wasn't interested in what we were discussing wouldn't want to do this position. In the past, we've had very, very amazing students who've wanted to come up and speak to us and engage with us. So they would have to be a student who was wanting, whether it is government or going forward in something of that sense, or somebody who wants to test out the waters. Again, the selection process I don't want to get involved in. The other thing is, in my opinion, this is so many community hours, community hours. I mean, that's a plus on it.
Community service hours?
Yes.
And I may have just overlooked at this read, or just didn't hear, but would there be an opportunity in this policy for such a student to remove themselves if they felt like this wasn't a good fit for them? Is there?
I would assume so. I mean, I think that's just.
Yeah.
I wouldn't need to put that in a policy. I don't think if the student doesn't feel it's a good fit, the student doesn't feel it's a good fit. Do you think we should put it in the policy?
I'm not sure.
Anybody?
So I like the section about the removal, maybe just an additional section saying vacate, like an option for them to like step down for any reason. That could be an additional. I think that can just be a sentence, but.
I think any one of us could step down at any time. So I'm assuming any student could. But I'll definitely put it in.
Would there be like any particular opportunities for like the student representative to like in school gather input from other students, throughout the high school, not just in their class, but the junior class, the senior class, freshmen?
I would hope yes. That is my intention, yes.
Okay, and would this also basically absorb the student liaison role?
This would be our high school student liaison.
Right.
Yes. The middle schools would stay exactly how they are, as far as I'm concerned.
Just like, I guess, a side question then. For the middle school student liaisons that we have, are we potentially considering creating a separate, like, minor policy just to keep them in the event that we're not all here?
I would love them to come. They weren't always here. That was the previous, I think, school committee or 2 school committee. I don't, but we asked the middle schools to come, and they came. As you can see, well, Riverside rotates. Martin has been the same, but in the high school has always been the same student. And there is a process. There's just never been a policy. And one day, if we're all not here, I would hope that somebody would want these students to be able to still speak, and that's why the policy is here. Because right now there is no policy, and at any time the liaison could be, we could just decide right now we no longer want one. You know what I'm saying? There's not one in place. So we could say, 4 school committees from now can say, no, we're done. Not all schools have them. Not all school districts have them. So I'm just trying to put something in place. It's easier to take away. It's easier to put in place than it is to take away, because then you have to answer to the public.
Yeah, and like this is a extremely beneficial opportunity, right, for a student who would have interest in government, whether on the local or higher level side of government, someone who's looking to build relationships and gain like community service hours, but almost a stepping stone to for this type of experience as well. So I think that this would be an extremely beneficial opportunity for students or a student, or students moving forward, to have this type of an opportunity.
We originally had in about a history or a government leeway in education in the high school for the person, but I felt then that would eliminate other people who may have, and I spoke to this nice Dr. Bowler on that, and I agreed with her that putting in a history major or a history buff or an AP history person or a government person would eliminate some students that may want to participate.
Any other questions or comments regarding the student rep to the school committee policy?
Actually, just one more question. So, how would we determine what information the student representative would get prior to school committee meetings? Kind of like how prior to our meetings we'll get certain information emailed to us. Do we know what kind of information they would receive prior to meetings?
The agenda. They would get
Just
the agenda. And they should be able to reach out to us if they had any questions off of the agenda, off of any public knowledge items. And the purpose of this is hope going forward, as we have a discussion like this one, that they would be able to put their input into it. And maybe we're doing this all wrong, and maybe a student here would think, oh, you should have done it this way or that way.
Any other questions or comments regarding the policy on the table right now for discussion? Okay. The next item, I'd like to propose tabling for the next regularly scheduled meeting, the policy for the review cycle. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Tabled. Next item we have is discussion regarding the incident reporting policy. Jessica, would you like to start off the conversation with that one, since you had asked for that to be on the agenda? I feel like all of us have kind of something to chime in on that, but
Okay.
So I'll let you.
Right, so there's no paper in front of you because this is a discussion. And it's meant to be a discussion. as previously stated, I think that it is important that if there's any incident that has happened in any of our schools that require a suspension from schools, in my opinion, I think that, and I say this lightly because I don't know, but I think we need to be notified, and I think we need to be notified within a time frame. If there's, and I feel like I'm all negative tonight, and I apologize, but again, if there's knives, guns, I don't know, anything that is severe threats against teachers, against students, a fight that causes an ambulance to come, anything that involves a teacher that may have gotten harmed or another student that may have gotten harmed. Again, I've been up here for 10 years, and this seems like it's a lot more than it's ever been this year. And I am just trying to help and try to figure out how. So I think our discussion last time was maybe within a 24-hour period of the superintendent finding out. Again, no names need to be submitted to us, but the incident and what is happening, or what the protocol would be going forward with the incident. But again, this is just my opinion, and this is a discussion, so let's discuss.
So I really like the chart that we've been getting. I think for the past month that funny enough, Jessica also asked for. So the committee does receive a chart of incidences that happen throughout the district. Those are all compiled from each, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think from every principal, and then that all gets sent to the superintendent, and then the superintendent compiles all that information. Obviously, it does not have sensitive information such as the employee involved or the students' names. It doesn't have any descriptors. But it does give us an understanding basically of like if it's like a fight, if it's specifically if there was a police involved, if it was like an assault, a threat, and where it happened. So I think the way that the chart is describing any sort of incident, I think is a great place to also start, which you basically went into detail a little bit describing incidences. But I think it'd be nice to also include the different incidences from that same report into that list that you just kind of went off of, to include in the event that, you know, something like that happens, that requires an ambulance, if it requires like a police officer coming in that doesn't include the, you know, our usual SRO that's in our 2 middle schools and high school, to kind of give us a heads up. Unfortunately, it seems like COVID did take an impact on our students, and the district is doing what they can, and we're just trying to do our part to make sure that, you know, we are informed and know what is happening, to make sure that we can also, you know, take action in the places that we can, such as the policies that Jessica has proposed tonight. So that's my only contribution, is including those additional incidences that's on the actual reports as it is. And I think, like we said, specifically asking for the ones that rise to a higher threat level.
So on a different note, in the same reporting policy, I think it's important that our superintendent and/or designee and our assistant superintendent, so 2 people, and if the superintendent's not available and the assistant superintendent is available, then another designee, so that 2 people. So if an incident happened at Waddington, sorry, I'm using Waddington, that principal has 24 hours to inform our superintendent and/or her designee and our assistant superintendent of that incident that resulted in A, in-school suspension, B, suspension. We don't right now, that I can find, have that information, And I think it's important that our superintendent and our designee, plus our assistant superintendent, be informed of that incident. Maybe we're 48 hours, maybe the school committee is 48 hours, and within 24 hours, a superintendent, just going back and forth.
So that was gonna be my only thing about the time thing. Like, I think we can discuss like which situations would require 24 hours, and then some maybe 48 hours, depending, because sometimes you are in the middle of an investigation, and I can understand like if it doesn't rise to the, a high threat, then maybe the 24 hours isn't maybe too feasible, but I think 24 definitely for like if there was an ambulance called to a school, if like the police had to get involved, like that stuff, I think definitely 24 hours is like a non-negotiable. I think I'm open to at least like 48 hours being something for lesser incidences to be communicated or relayed over to the superintendent, assistant, or designee. So that's just my thoughts on the time window. Not sure if anyone else has any.
So if something was like relayed to the assistant superintendent or a designee rather than directly to the superintendent, would they then give that information directly to the school committee, or would they give it to the superintendent first?
That's a good question.
No, I don't want it first. I want it to go to the superintendent first. She's in charge of the school district. We just oversee the district. I think that it needs to go to her and the assistant superintendent. I think two people, just in case if the superintendent, I can't imagine how many emails that I can't imagine how many emails you get a day. But at least if we know that there are two people getting the report, then two people or one of the two will know immediately. And then at that point, once it's reviewed by them, they send that over to us.
So yeah, that was going to be my only thing to because I think I know.
Did I answer the question?
I think you yes,
Okay.
yes, but I think to clarifying that policy, I understand what you're saying. To clarifying that policy, that reporting to the superintendent is completely separate from reporting to us. Obviously, in that policy would be a separate section. I would assume, or would like to see that the superintendent reporting whatever incidences to us would be completely separate, and obviously unrelated to whoever from whatever school is reporting anything to the superintendent, and et cetera. Is that kind of what you were saying? It'd be two different reports, but nonetheless, the one that takes priority is obviously, I would assume that everyone thinks that would go to the superintendent and the assistant and designate. So, but I see what you were trying to say about that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that it is important for our superintendent and assistant superintendent and folks, and for our principals and our teachers to be able to have the opportunity or the accountability to support each other, right? If what we're talking about is ensuring that things are reported to our superintendent in a timely manner to allow for her to be able to, or them to be able to properly support the people who are reporting it. Is that what I'm hearing? That we're talking about ensuring that there's a timely, we're putting a time frame on reporting so that proper supports can be put in place within our district.
That's my understanding in this so far. In the event that the superintendent is indisposed or what have you, multiple incidences, that there is someone ready to step in and handle the situation. That's my understanding of it as well.
Just to be clear, though, in most cases, in just about every case, we get a text or a phone call immediately, either Celeste or I, and within 24 hours, we get an incident report on all major incidents. And I can give you a copy of what that incident report looks like, but we redesigned that a couple of years ago, and we do, and Sharon gets a copy. So, and typically if it's a special ed student, it will go to pupil personnel also. So we do get that, and our principals have been very good about a call or a text on things that, elevate to our level immediately. So, I mean, it can be a written policy, so it's more formal and everybody will be clear, but there is a protocol in place in the district for that.
And as of right now, you feel comfortable and satisfied with how the practices are in place?
Typically, yes. Are there things that, you know, have been missed, maybe? Yes, on occasion. You know, and we address those as they come up. But we do have a protocol for reporting. And in any major incident, like, we are notified immediately. You know, if it's, like I said, it's either a call, depending on, and they'll work through, like, you know, if they can't get me, they'll get Celeste, or they'll call Lindsay. They'll make sure that they get somebody in central office, so we're aware of it, or Sharon. So, you know, like I said, a policy, you know, will solidify that, but we do have procedures.
Any other questions or comments regarding the incident reporting or the potential, I don't know, just a discussion item, but any other discussion?
I just have a question, Jen. Jess, so are we gonna put something ready, like with this committee to go? Because I think right now this is kind of vague. I think if the superintendent's comfortable, maybe there's some instances the superintendent's getting that maybe we're not getting, that we have to talk to her about. Not accusing anybody or anything, but I just say that me being a principal, what I have to deal with in the education world already, I'd like to have something written down item by item. The last thing I want to do is have a principal starting to second guess, should I do this, should I not do this? If what this district has been doing is working and some things are being missed, that's human nature. And I would rely on the superintendent to say maybe there are some instances that she is getting reports that she feel that we weren't interested in or something. That's the only thing that I want to just make sure that we don't put a second guess to a principal to say, should I do this or should I not do it? Like, you know, when we look at it as an act of violence, one principal may, if we don't label it as what we think is an act of violence, one principal may think it's an act of violence, another, principal may not. Just like some kids that may bully somebody in their world and their lifestyle, that may not be bullying to them. This is very open to put in front of principals to say that we may hold you responsible, but unless we give them a real strict guideline on what they have to notify the superintendent of to make sure we're notified, I just think it's going to take a little bit of work on this committee to really itemize everything, because I think the way it is now, sitting up here listening to it, I can only imagine how a principal is sitting out there saying, wow, what I've been in the district for 5 years or 12 years, I've never had an instance like this. Wonder what's going to be different. So I just think going forwards, we may have to label like what we think a principal may have to notify the superintendent for to take any guesswork out of it. Because technically we're gonna hold them liable now. Like you said, right now there's no policy. We leave it, in their best judgment. I'm totally comfortable with that best judgment. Could we talk to Sandy about whether any in the last 6 months that she didn't report to us that we think we needed, and work closer with her maybe? Maybe there's none, except that, we brought this on because of one instance. We can't discuss why, but that's the only thing that I'm seeing right now. So I'm just gonna say, if we're gonna go forwards with it, let's really tighten it tight so there's no confusion with the principals. Thank you.
Tony, I agree. That's why it's up for discussion, and there's been no policy written at this time.
Yes, yeah.
There are procedures in place which we make policies, we don't necessarily make procedures.
Right.
And that's, so again, I agree, maybe some schools, we've all heard how much bullying is happening within our schools. It's all over social media, we're all texted about it, we're all emailed about it. But again, what's a bullying issue at one school may be different from the other. I absolutely agree with you. But I guess we all need to get on the same page so that once a child is bullying at an elementary school, then moves up to the middle school and they don't no longer find that bullying, the child continues.
Yep.
But I was mostly talking about some major incidences that we could eventually end up in a lawsuit for. Again, This is just open for discussion. We all discussed this earlier. So again, this is a discussion item. If we don't want to go forward with this, we don't have to. That's the best part of this. This is a discussion. There are 5 of us here to discuss it. And that's what we're here to do. It's just in a public setting.
Any other additional questions or comments about a potential incident reporting policy or any other ideas from the committee members up here? Okay, next item, please.
The next item is building committee report.
I'd like to invite our previous chair, Joel Montero, to please come up, and Ann Quintero, to give us the building committee report. They met on, well, yesterday. And I know there's been a lot of developments recently, so please do not hold back on any details on developments. Is there a presentation up there, or if not, we can stay up here, up to you two.
Yeah, looks like he has a copy of the OPM report
Okay.
that will show. And I'm going to defer to Ann on this project. She can get into more detail, but I will give an update on the high school, which is still an open project. Just in brief, you guys will, hopefully in the coming weeks or months, Craig is working to reconcile all the books. We've got some funds that we're still utilizing. Principal Black and Mr. Murphy are coming to us with some needs that they still have, or that they've identified. Some our small group has approved. We still do our weekly calls. The wall coverings, the vinyl wall protection that we did on the lower levels with the common areas. We've got the funds. We're expanding that up into the 3rd and 4th floor to protect some more walls with some corners and so forth. So we're just looking at items like that we can utilize the funds that are there. But at the end of the day, in general, we guarantee that we're in the black on this project. No questions asked. It's just a matter of getting what that number is before it gets reported to the school committee. Project-wise, as far as things to be done, it's coordinating with DOT on that mast arm for the traffic light, because there's still the plan to put that longer arm light so we get that the 2 north, or I should say southbound lanes will have their lights on the horizontal post with that turn signal, where right now you have one of them on the vertical post because it's a shorter arm. So that's part of that project with the water pipe. It's kind of coordinated in there. So the timing of that, we're waiting for the contractor working with DOT to give us that timeline. But again, in general, the project will close out under budget, and we're just trying to maximize the funds so that the programs in the school here has everything that it needs. So, and from there, I will turn it over to Ann to go over the Martin Middle School, Waddington, and Riverside.
Thank you, Mr. Montero. Good evening. So just to go over the 3 separate projects here currently happening at the district, starting with Martin Middle School. We did receive our building permit last month. We are currently on track to meet our MBE WBE participation goal of 15%, and with a forecasted participation of 17.2, split between MBE WBE, and trying to increase the MBE just a little bit more to meet the 7.5% currently prescribed by Rhode Island General Legislature. Open items currently, we do have Rhode Island DEM coordination that we need to go through. With some of the early excavation work that we've done, there was some debris found underneath the soil. So Based on that, we've done some testing, and some of the levels have exceeded the Rhode Island DEM prescribed levels, and we actually have a public meeting scheduled for April 15th at 5 p.m. in the administration building in the auditorium. And the notification was actually, the public notification was provided, I believe it was last week, at the prescribed 10-day minimum notification period. Currently, just with our activities on site, we actually did have the groundbreaking, which some of the folks here attended this morning. And as far as construction procurement status, we are currently at 80% procured, so we are actually in pretty good shape there. Construction activities on site, we continue to work within the building. The areas of abatement and demo are anticipated to be complete this month, and we continue the shear wall reinforcement at the gym where the addition and the existing building intersect. After the public notification, or public meeting rather, with Rhode Island DEM, we are anticipating proceeding with the rest of the site work. Next page. So I'm just showing some pictures here of activities that have taken place throughout the month of March. We have the demo complete in the old administration area of the Martin Middle School. We've also protected really that area that's going to be part of the addition and existing building intersection. We also have the water line completed, done, tested, and chlorinated, and again, extra protection of just where the existing building was exposed that now we've protected from the weather. Here we have some abatement and demo of the stairwells, exposing footing condition, really to confirm the structure right where we actually will be maintaining some of the existing structures. And we can keep going down. Stairwell removed, and then demo of the chorus room as well here. Moving on to Waddington Elementary School, we have some scope to enabling work for the electrical piece happening during spring break. MBE, WBE participation, we are forecasted currently at 13%, so we're still working through with Shawmut Design and Construction to bring that up to the goal of 15%. Everything else as far as phase 1 and phase 2 of Waddington is still slated to take place summer of this year and summer of next year to minimize disruption to school operations during the school year. Riverside Middle School, we've received our building permit on this too at the beginning of March. We've also, Collins had mobilized the end of February, and we had started the excavation and demo of the 4 science classrooms on the first floor. We ran into one of the classrooms where we actually had 3 layers of concrete, and underneath the slab of concrete and between the really 2 different layers, there's some abatement, additional abatement that we actually need to do. So we're going through that process now, received our abatement plan to be able to do the abatement here and continue really further demo. And then this month, it's really framing new doorways and soffits, continuing the roof of HVAC and plumbing, and then backfilling and pouring the concrete by the end of this month as we continue with the other rough electrical, low voltage, and structured cabling. And again, just additional pictures of the demo and the trenching that's taking place in the science classrooms on the first floor. And that completes the OPM report.
Any questions from the committee for either Ann or Joel?
Yes, I have a question for Joel.
Sure.
How we doing, Joel?
All right.
I don't want to return any of it. I don't want to return any of it. So if you guys are going to pass, going out there, I hope there's a really, a lot of eyes looking at it. I believe that the taxpayers voted to put it here.
Yeah.
Good group of guys. Love to see it all spent, on this.
So, agreed. And I know that there's conversations with Craig, superintendent, and the city, because ultimately the city controls what's not used, other than the fact that the bond referendum does specify that it can only be used for the school. It has to be related to the high school. We've had discussions. Do they, whatever is given back, whatever we can't spend, because there is a time frame, and I can't remember what that is, and I don't think Craig was really able to get a solid answer, because they've been very flexible with us, but that comes through the bonding agent that kind of manages that. So that's still an unknown as far as what our time is, but the project's still open, right? So as long as the project's open, then we have that ability, and that's why we're doing, again, the wall coverings and even some added cameras for the administrative building for proposed programs and stuff like that. So, we have, and other IT upgrades, because just as an example, which, credit to Alfred, not, it's kind of redundant when you say his name and credit, but upgrading some of the network pieces in here, because when we came into this building, we did bring some stuff from the old high school because it was brand new, but it's been 4 years. So that becomes obsolete. So Alfred had stepped up and said, hey, you know what? If you have some money, let's upgrade our systems, certain components. So we're trying to dig at every possible area to utilize the funds for this school, small equipment for, facilities, crew to have. We just, maintenance contracts for the fields, right? So we had an opportunity with the funds to extend that again to ensure that we've got proper maintenance of that field with a company that's qualified and specializes in that. So we've thrown some stuff around with the superintendent about what we can not dictate but maybe request of the city. Is there a way for the city to almost create a not an escrow, it's probably a bad example, but if I'm thinking out loud, it would be, okay, so if we have, let's say it's $1 million, just to use a round number, give it back, and, okay, so you're gonna pay down, hopefully, right? If you're gonna pay down the debt service, let's send it right back so that you're not carrying that debt service. But maybe that means that if you were budgeting for the debt service, and Sandy, I don't know if you heard this from me yet, but if you were budgeting as a city that debt service, maybe kick that into a capital fund. If that debt service has a 10-year term, well, maybe that becomes a capital fund from the city to the school outside of the annual budget. Just throwing that out there publicly, right? So, but the money itself either has to go back or come right to the school. And we are trying to do that, but again, make sure that we don't go over, and be prepared that when it's time to close the project out, that, again, we remain in the black, but we want to maximize those funds, absolutely. So I know the camera, like there was some security measures that Alfred had requested that will be installed in that facility there. I don't know anything else about any other plans for that, but it's worthy of a question, absolutely. So if that's something that you guys are looking at doing, then I think that's a question that we pose. And did it have to be in the original design? Then we go to. I don't know that it does, because again, we're adding certain things now, but we did, initially I didn't think we could do anything over there once we pulled the pre-K. And there was those thoughts of that being part of the project, but the camera piece still kind of qualifies as a campus-wide, which may help us there. So I don't know if it's specifically in that building, but it's a great question, and I think that it's something that, yeah. Right.
I could look at it under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
We need somebody for that project.
And that's why, the idea that I was saying about, okay, if we're going to give it to the city, and they're going to give it right back so that they don't have to carry that debt service, but they were budgeting for it, send those funds instead of paying the bank. If you were planning on paying the bank for 10 years, give a capital investment to the schools outside of the school appropriation from the city budget. Just putting it out there, Mayor, and Council, but I don't know. That's a thought. That's what, it's still in flux because we are still open. We're waiting. That mast arm is one of the things that's delaying, because we don't even have a final number. We have money put aside already to cover that, but we don't have a final number to put on the books to pay it out and close it, right? So it's budgeted, and that's why we could say that we know that we're in the black. We just don't know what that number is, and that's one of the questions. So, and I don't know if Craig, I would say that that's one thing that's kind of keeping this project open, and while it's open, we can continue. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
I think we're all set. Yeah. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I had Ann come out because, when I was sitting there was usually hey, can we have Peregrine come and do the report? So,
Thank you, Ann. Always appreciated.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ann, I have a question.
Never mind.
Is it possible that you could share some specifics in terms of what the public meeting on Monday will be in regards to?
So it's a DEM requirement to have the public meeting. It's really just to hear from the abutters, because the notification was actually provided in the East Providence newspaper. So it's really a discussion to let the environmental consultant will be part of that meeting, and they will actually lead it to just talk about what levels were actually found in the soil, and really just to hear from the public if there's any comments or questions.
Ann, did we have that for the high school as well?
Yes, it's the same, it's
And
exactly the
we
same
had a
process
meeting,
as the high
correct?
school.
Yeah, that was the same process.
Correct.
The difference with the high school was where the materials were found did not impact the construction site. So our concern as a committee is we're working, and Shawmut's been great, is the scheduling piece, because where it lies, it's, where some of the findings are, it's in that construction area, so that could create some delays just to get the stamp of approval, because you can't move until DEM says, okay, here's the process. So they've got to hear that information. With the high school, again, they found materials, they had the public meeting, but it was in a separate area, so construction just stayed on schedule. And we actually joked, with Manny Venatero being, long in the tooth for the city, but we said, we know you know, I mean, we're in East Providence, right? And we're like, okay, so is something gonna pop up? We almost waited for it. So when we did the initial testing, which was extensive, required before any excavation was done, everything pops up clean. And it was, you know, multiple, but it's just, then you start digging and, you know, Tony, you probably have uncovered, you know, things in your day, but, you know, I'd say, I just think back, like, I mean, Martin, junior high school, right, before it was middle school, you know, football, that was our practice field, right? So, like, because that north field is where the first findings were, but again, I think it's pretty standard, and it's, you know, there's you know, we're just going through the process, and for us, the handling of it is not a concern because it's almost routine on projects. It's schedule, impact, and what DEM will allow, because there's a couple proposals from Shaw and how they can proceed and manage the materials, and once DEM says, okay, these are the steps you have to do, then they can put them into action.
And so during this public meeting, it would be an opportunity for folks to come out and hear directly from building committee members and from
No, who you're gonna hear from are the people that know. That's gonna be SAGE, right? Those that actually have the materials, have tested materials, have all the findings, have the direct contacts with DEM. So you'll hear from SAGE, and DEM will be there. Because to hear from us, right? Yeah, so, and you'll be able to ask questions to, yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, I think when we did it for the high school, talking to Ann's counterpart, Sam, you know, I think he said there was, outside of the officials that were in the room, there might have been, you know, one or two people, but I mean, it's pretty routine, but yeah, you'll absolutely have an opportunity to ask some questions, and they'll be able to give you, you know, clear answers, because they'll have all the reports, findings, and next steps. So,
Joel, or either one of you, as most of us know, we were there today at Martin for the groundbreaking. We heard machinery, we saw the workers. I just want to clarify, is work still going on at Martin right now, or are we halted?
no, well, you saw the photos. There's so much demo and abatement, you know, we actually talked, right, I think last night. Mm-hmm. Abatement, yeah, we know that it's right, with the tiles, you have asbestos.
Correct.
You know, adhesive. So you have demo and abatement that continues to go on, and some of that, and show the pictures of some of the excavation on the footings that they need to verify where we'll be tying into the existing building. So yeah, they're busy. You know, the trailers are full of staff, and they're working everywhere they can, and there's plenty to do still inside. So they said the only thing that's been halted is in those areas where we're just waiting. So in a matter of hopefully a couple weeks, you know, we'll know what the pace will be outside, but inside there's still plenty to do.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from the committee for Joel or Ann? All right. I think we are set now. Thank you. Next item, please.
The next item is discussion items.
We have the convert dean positions to assistant principal positions at the elementary schools. I'll let the superintendent start off on this item.
Yeah, so what we're proposing is obviously what you just said, to convert the dean positions to assistant principals, beginning at the start of next school year with positions that we have vacant. And the reason behind this is because we really, first and foremost, is to create a leadership pipeline. You know, we really feel like we'd be giving people the opportunity to be in leadership roles before entering a principal position, and building their skills to assume leadership positions. We would also be able to offer a specific PD to our assistant principals and help them prepare. So when we do have vacancies, we have people that can fill those vacancies. You know, this year we had 3 open principals positions. We actually had to go out twice to find qualified candidates, and we were very lucky in finding those. But it is becoming more and more difficult to hire in administrative roles, and we feel like building a pool would definitely be a benefit for the district. We also have seen, as has been mentioned tonight, an increase in the needs at the school level, and we feel as if assistant principals can support principals with additional duties. So they can evaluate. Currently, our deans cannot evaluate. They can help with personnel issues. They can also provide IEP and special education support, attending those meetings. They can, again, assume leadership roles when the principal is absent, assist with curriculum, instruction, and assessment initiatives, supervise school-sponsored events, provide support for scheduling, and also meet with parents as needed, and continue the role that they're playing now with discipline and support to students. But I just see it as an expanded role. It is in the collective bargaining agreement that if the district can choose to remove those roles from the collective bargaining agreement. We did work with the union to draft an MOA, if this does pass, talking about how we would open up the positions. So staff that are currently in those positions, we're working with them if they would like to move into an administrative position to take the necessary classes and get certified in order to do that. And if that's not what they want to do, then giving them the opportunity to go back into positions in the district. So there would be that option. We would be looking at the full conversion for all of the roles to be, I believe it's 26-27 school year. 26-27 school year. So, I mean, as far as salary, so we investigated salaries for assistant principals around the state, and we have just about all of them that have for districts that have assistant principals, and it's currently between 90 and 107,000. And we, right now, deans that are on a top step with a master's with their stipend are, and longevity are just over 104. So we don't see it as being an additional cost to the district. We see it as being pretty much the same cost, which just, providing more support to our principals, because I do believe they need it. So that is what I'm proposing tonight. Does anyone have questions about this?
Questions or comments from the committee?
Sandy, a question. We can make this change. It's all going to be done in-house.
Say a little, sorry,
It's
a
gonna be
little
done
more.
with in-house employees.
So anyone that's currently a dean, we actually have some deans that are either finished with their certification or will be finished. So they would be able to convert into assistant principals. Some positions this year would just be positions that are open. We have 2 vacant positions going into next school year.
Yes.
So we would fill those with assistant principals. And then we would, again, work with the current deans if they wanted to get their certification. If you have a master's degree, it's 3 additional courses. So there is a fast-track principals program and an internship, which they would be able to do right in their current role. So I have spoken with the deans. I've spoken with individual deans that are interested in pursuing that pathway. And so, we've started to have those conversations. But they would have till 26-27 to work on those classes if they needed to take classes and wanted to continue to do that. Some people are not interested in pursuing administration. Some of these things that they would be doing are not what they want to do. So they would eventually move into a different position in the district.
So that was going to be my next question, actually, just to go off of what Tony said. For the current deans that are not interested in becoming, assistant principals, is it like a small minority? Is there someone that is concerned about, trying to still stay as a dean, like is, or there's just some people that like essentially look at, I don't want to become an assistant principal, I don't like the other options here, I'm gonna decide to leave, essentially. Like, is there anyone in that space, kind of?
So I do think there may be a couple people that would probably have preferred to stay in the dean role, and they do have the option over the next 3 years to get the administrator certification. But there are people, probably a couple, that will choose that route, and that's why we're giving them 3 years. But I mean, ultimately, it's about a position, and it's about what's best for the entire district. And we try not to make decisions, based on people, but, I realize fully, like, this is, difficult for some people. And, we did have a conversation with them before it was on the last school committee agenda. We let them know that we would be presenting it. We let them know that we would support them if they were interested in pursuing the pathway, or that we would work through the details with the union of how they would return if they chose to do that.
I mean, I guess, is there still a possibility, 3 years, is a long time. Is there a possibility of there potentially being, something between yourself and any of those 1 or 2 deans that are not interested in getting those getting that certificate for that? Like, is there a potential in that agreement? Like, is there any room for negotiating down the line, or is it just kind of clear cut, 3 years? These are your 2 options. Either you go into whatever position that essentially the district finds available for them, and the other option being becoming assistant superintendent. Like, is there any gray area?
Yeah,
I guess
so
is what I'm trying to clarify.
No,
is there
so
any
based
gray?
on the MOA, there is not.
There's no gray at all.
Okay. Based on the MOA, there is not.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee?
And I will say, so at the middle school, we have an assistant principal and we have a dean, and I feel like that system definitely works for the middle school. I think as we move forward with opening Martin, moving the pre-K out of Oldham, New Oldham, Meadowcrest, we need to look at our plans for Riverside and Waddington and what we want to do with Oldham. Right now, with the size of the school, I see it as a model like the middle schools. I don't think that we need 2 assistant principals at, Waddington. But 3 years down the line, I'm not sure what that will look like anymore, right? Once the pre-K moves out and once we decide what we want to do, and our plan would be to engage the community to see, to look at those elementary schools in Riverside and how to best meet the needs of all our students. If that makes sense.
Yes, and just again to reiterate what the superintendent said, this is just for the elementary schools. We're not trying to double it up at our other schools.
May I ask why?
Strictly elementary schools.
May I ask why?
Yep.
Would not put 2 vice principals at middle schools with everything that the principal are doing at the middle schools with the issues that we're having at middle schools. Why wouldn't we put this towards our middle schools too and make those deans across the board?
Because I think right now, currently, the deans at the middle schools and the high school, what they do is discipline, right? It is a lot of discipline at the elementary, but the role looks very different at the elementary from secondary. So I feel like the deans are already doing that role, and I feel like you have an assistant principal to support all of the other pieces that principals at the elementary level don't have. Here we have 3 assistant principals. At both middle schools, we have 2 assistant principals. So I do feel like they have support, but I just feel like the elementary needs support with the other pieces that the deans can't do. And both middle and high work year-round, too, assistant principals.
Yeah, so
And I don't know that
that
it's
was my next
necessarily...
question. The contracts of assistant principals, we don't have a copy, so would it go with it can't go with the middle school or the high school because they work year-round, so what would their contract look like?
Yeah, probably mirror, and we have to approve a salary range so this all has to come back to the committee anyway, and then we would have to approve like a template for a contract. So I'm thinking it would mirror the principal, right? The principals here work 10 days before, 10 days after. So it would look similar to that. It might be 5 before, 5 after, something along those lines. I would work that out with the principals to see what best supports their needs.
In 5 weeks vacation during the school year?
No, no
Like,
vacation.
Just double check.
Yeah, our elementary principals don't get vacation. They get school vacations, and then they have the summer, like the month of July, pretty much off. They don't get vacation days.
Sandy, does this have to be voted on tonight as an action item? Could you get us more information, like what Jess just said, the whole package of how this would look going down the road? Or is this time sensitive that we have to do it now?
Well,
Actually, just to kind of go off on what you're saying, are you talking about maybe like they can proceed to look, and you guys have like essentially like changing it to like you have the okay to move forward with considering this and, you know, putting together the salary ranges, putting together the,
so we get
and
to
then
see
once that's all finalized, it can come for all together as a package as for final approval?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I was
So the salary ranges for all positions need to be approved by the school committee. So what I was thinking was when we do that, hopefully maybe next meeting, that could be part of the whole administrative package. But if you want that separate from this.
I would like to see it separated. That's just my opinion.
I think I'm in support of this. I'm not saying that I'm not, but I can kind of I can see that because that way we have all the pieces to look at, including like, you know, kind of what the job description would look like as well as the salary ranges, so that the school committee has a full like picture of what the financial impact is. So that's just my thought on it. But
There would be no
like,
additional
so
financial impact, but there's a salary range,
Yeah.
right? So I
So
couldn't
it's-
say, so if it was 95 to 105 for the salary range, like I can't really say until we hire, you know, what that exact salary would be, because it would go based on experience. So that would come in with a contract when we offered people contracts. I mean, if it gets approved in May, we can go out and post after that. I mean, I would like to hire, you know, now I think there's, you know, we're getting into the hiring season for these types of positions when people start to look. So if you just let me know exactly what you'd like for the next meeting, I can put all that together. If that's what you want to do, is wait to approve it. But
I mean, we can always, I mean, I put that up to the committee. We can always propose it that we can kind of adjust the action item to we vote for the superintendent to proceed with putting together the position for the deans, which would include the items that we were just briefly mentioned. In that way, since those items already have to come before us again in the future, to have that all together. But I think definitely we can vote on at least for this proposal to be created, at least with our support. That way she does have this, the okay from the committee to know that this is obviously something that we want to proceed with. Just need a couple of more documents to kind of support it, I guess, is what I'm understanding. But I'm not sure if the committee has any comments in addition to what has been proposed before us regarding the assistant principal positions.
So, I don't think I've ever said this before. I don't think I've ever come up here and said, I'm going to speak for Ward 4 because I'm a Ward 4 representative. I honestly, in the 10 years, don't believe I think I've said that. But I got it. Waddington is at 534 students, or 29 students, and Martin is at 500 and
10 more. I mean, Riverside's at 10 more. I know I've said this on and off for 10 years. I know I have, and I apologize. I'm not saying that redistricting is the right way either, or when pre-K gets into Martin, we'll have an open school, and then the community will have to decide what kids go to Oldham and what kids go to Waddington, and whether you do, like we've talked about, maybe the younger ones at thing. But as of right now, we don't know, and I am not going to tell. I'm not okay with the fact that I may give up 2 deans at Waddington, nor in 3 years am I okay with the fact that I don't know where we are. I'm not sure if we're going to be in Martin yet. I'm not sure, exactly when things will be done. I'm not okay with giving up 2 deans at Waddington for the same amount of children that Riverside has, with an assistant and a dean in one. What did Freddie Ripka call that room? The cafeteria thing. I won't do it. I understand why the superintendent wants it. I respect that, and I understand it, because to have one principal do all that work in every school it's a lot. It's a lot, and to have someone else that can do oversee stuff, can do evaluations. I agree with you 150%. The idea that you have somebody else there that can take over in your absence, the idea that I would be losing somebody without a definite plan in place in 3 years, even if we lose 1 classroom, that puts us over. The other schools have 220.
I'm not talking about cutting a position.
No, but we would lose a dean.
No.
So we would keep
you would have
a dean based on numbers?
You'd have an assistant principal, a principal, and probably a dean. So 3 so the same model as the middle school.
But we don't know that for sure. In 3 years, if things change, that might change that. And that's my only concern. And the numbers aren't going down there.
Yeah.
I'm
not looking to reduce support by any means. I am not. The whole reason I'm doing this is to provide additional support to schools. I'm not looking to reduce support. If the numbers continue to stay at Waddington, if we don't make a decision to do something different and the numbers continue to be over 500, they need that support. I'm fully in support of that. I'm not looking to reduce staff. If for some reason we opened another school and we decided to move students from Waddington, I think then we need to revisit, right? We need to look at staffing levels, but that's at least 3 years away, probably longer than that. But I'm not looking to reduce support anywhere. If we could, I'd put more support in our schools. So I just want to be clear. I don't want people to go back and say, oh, she's cutting them down a position. It's not. And if we choose to go 2 assistant principals there, then, that's the other option. Waddington is the exception because of the size compared to other elementary schools.
So I can kind of see the want for those protections just in the event, and that situation arises. I think specifically at Waddington, there's a lot of unknowns, but I think otherwise across the board, it's a pretty easy transition, like you said. Again, with the exception, I think, of 2 schools you said that don't have deans currently, right?
So we have 2 that will be vacant in September that we would like to start there and fill those 2 with assistant principals.
So otherwise, the other deans we currently have either already essentially will easily be able to transition once they either complete their certifications, or they'll just essentially move up to them because they already have them.
Or they could stay in place till the 26-27 school year and then make a decision to go back to another position in the district.
How long how long does the certifications typically last? If they haven't started, if they're starting, let's say, I don't know, this summer, because by then this will be done.
Well, if you already have a master's degree, it's only 3 classes.
Okay.
If you don't have a master's degree, you have to go through an entire master's program.
And that can take up to 2 years if you do it full time?
Yeah, it could. Good. And I think there's only one or two in that situation that don't have a master's degree.
Okay. And I'm assuming that's already been conversations, though, that you've already had with them if they plan to go down that road or not, and that's something that you guys have come to an understanding in some capacity. Any other questions or comments regarding the assistant principal positions?
Yeah, I think Dr. Fannin, I think it would be beneficial for this committee to be provided with definitive salary ranges, potential budget impact that could have on this, and what we would do at a school like Waddington, like what that would mean in terms of ensuring that this proper supports are in place. I think if that was, if we were able to have that formalized, I think it would be a lot clearer for the committee as a whole.
Any additional comments from the committee? Questions? Next item, please.
The next item is public comments.
I'm sorry, Jenny, I just, really quickly before we go into that, I wanted to circle back. I believe the facilities update was...
Oh, yes, I'm not sure if the superintendent, do you still want? No. Okay. I should have spoken into the mic, but I was going to say, we have an update in our packet. I had asked the superintendent if it was okay if Joel just kind of took over the majority of the stuff that I think cover the whole facilities because of it being related to the buildings, but she just confirmed again that Chris, you're all set for tonight with us. I'm not sure if he's still in here.
Jen, I have a question.
Do you have?
On item A.
Okay.
Where it states here, this project was going to start on April 15th through the 19th. The reason that we picked that week, school was closed, and all the playground fence was supposed to start on the 15th to the 19th.
Do you have a question?
17 phone calls today, why that project started today, and why there's over 19 to 20 holes cut in that fence. And I want to know what's going to be done about it.
I can speak to that. So after you asked me, I checked into it. So it's actually not the fence company that's doing the work right now, it's our own guys. So let's
talk about this.
Okay, so I'd like to back up then. Can I have if you want to talk about the facilities update, then I'll entertain would you like to make a motion then? I'll entertain a motion to move the facilities update right before the discussion, right before public comments. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Item is moved. And our director, Chris Murphy, can you please also come down here in the event that our superintendent also needs you to answer any additional questions as well. So I'll turn the tables over to you, Tony.
Good evening. I'd like to field any questions that are at hand right now, for starters.
The question I have, Chris?
Go ahead.
What happened to that fence at Orlo, which I just found out now it's our guys? What is happening?
We saved $7,500 by removing that fence instead of having the fence company do it. Given the fact it's due to rain very heavily Thursday and Friday, we would have lost the opportunity to remove that fence. So we started the removal of that fence today. The fence was sliced in a vertical fashion to remove the fabric, the actual chain link, right? But it is still fastened to the walls or the posts and the cross beams, right? So it's still effective as a fence. Are there slits in it? Yes, there are. Those slits are covered by cones for caution, so nobody goes near them. And that enables us to potentially late Friday afternoon or first thing Monday, remove the fence with greater ease, thereby still saving the $7,500 from having the fence company do it and allowing us the ability to move forward with the task.
So the 18 and 19 phone calls that I got today that wanted me to go over just before this meeting, it is drive a car through, that's not a concern to nobody, this is just a concern to me. I got it right here on my phone, timestamp, just before this meeting. So whoever's telling you slices in the fence and everything, I installed fence for many years, it's a blatant lie.
Tony, I saw that fence. I looked at, I reviewed that fence at about 2:30 this afternoon before my guys finished with it.
Oh, so my pictures are lying?
The fabric of the fence is still attached to the post and cross members.
Blocking the whole sidewalk, it's still attached to the fence? I'll show you the picture.
So
Do you want to?
we will look at it tomorrow and we will deal with it tomorrow.
I'll just.
Yeah, I'll
show
go
the
by and look at it.
If you can just follow up with that.
Yep.
Superintendent, and
Yep.
send a report over to the committee with whatever findings, confirmations, discussions, or actions that are taken from that.
Yep.
And
But the question that I have, did this committee, so is the fence still gonna cost us the $35,000 that we voted to spend on this project, and then somebody decided to infuse our guys to save $7,000 without us knowing?
No, the ability to save $7,000 was baked into the cost. That was in the preliminary bids that we received when getting the fence project rolling. We were always going to remove the fence. We have that capability. So it's not necessary that we pay a fence company to do the removal.
Also, but it's not $35,000 that this committee's paying. Say, if that's the number that just showed that we approved, the $35,000 for the fence, it's the $35,000 plus taxpayers' money, which is school department employees to take the fence down. So if somebody logged in at time, it could be an additional $3,000 to $4,000 on top of the $35,000.
I think that would be an excessive estimate, but it is taking an hourly rate.
I don't know what's going on. All I know, I got 19 phone calls from the school, and when I 9 pictures right now that I could drive a car through some of them holes.
I think
They're right on the picture, Chris. They're right here on my phone.
I will visit the site tomorrow and correct anything that you can drive a car through.
Oh, no, what I want corrected is any hazards there. They took all the line poles up, all disconnected from the poles. There's all galvanized steel sticking up like that. If that's not a concern to our guys that's doing it or somebody who's running his job site, that's a serious responsibility that somebody took on.
Okay, and I'll review that tomorrow.
You know, it's like I said, I know how to take apart a fence too, but there are ways to take it apart, leave certain sections to the very last day. The fence company comes, pull out all the anchors on the end. You don't stop pulling all the anchors and let them hang 1.5 feet into a playground. Then I go by then the Boys and Girls Club. They get me not knowing they were there. But that's just like I said, Chris. I have some issues with when we stop projects, and I feel that they start off with the wrong foot. I don't think anybody up here knew that our guys were gonna be involved with this, and I apologize if anybody up here knew that. I know I didn't know it. I thought I'd been on a $35,000 fence, sent it out to a reputable company, and that was the end of it. And it was gonna stop, because at the end of the day, it still states here it was gonna start on this date. I don't know if somebody notified the superintendent. Nobody notified us that this project is gonna start while there were still kids in that building. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Just to reiterate, Superintendent, just give us an update on that. And just to confirm, you didn't receive any sort of notice from anyone else regarding this fence issue today?
I didn't, I was
To your
not aware
knowledge?
it was starting today.
Okay. All right.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Is that all?
Yep.
Yes.
You have something?
Unless, would you?
I just want to tell about the paving to the public. Well, that's big, right? It's,
Never mind, Chris, not.
no, it's just an FYI. The
Never mind.
Pawtucket Ave paving project that we have been waiting for to happen will be starting on 4/15. It's not us. Remember, everyone, it's not us. We don't have any control over this. They put it off off and off, and now it's starting on 4/15.
So we met with them this week, and they anticipate that it will just be the week of school vacation. The 2 of the lanes will be closed down for the paving. And then they have told us that it will be reopened when school comes back.
Sandy, can I ask you a question? Because as far as we track that, when we look at, I know it's a city project, but it was all presented to the school department. When we were gonna pour that pipe, we were gonna open up the ground, put the pipe in, pour concrete out it, leave the Jersey barriers for 3 weeks while the concrete cured. The pipe is in, we're gonna put the barrier in. How did we lose 2 weeks of letting the concrete?
Because I don't think they're doing the whole thing. My understanding is they're doing a smaller patch
Yes.
temporarily to, until the summer. Is that that's correct, right? That's what they said the other day. Yeah,
They don't want any more traffic.
right. They'll finish it when we're out of school and traffic is not as bad. But they are doing other parts of Pawtucket Avenue, and so they'll do that area from Shores to the PCD entrance while they're doing that.
I agree with that, but I just thought it was very weird when we had mentioned at the.
Right, it was initially supposed to be 3 weeks for the complete job, that the 2 lanes were going to be closed. We had planned for that, and then I think with the bridge closure, they have made different plans.
All right, and if you can just update me tomorrow with what's gonna happen with that school, please.
Yep.
Next item, please.
The next item is public comments.
Thank you. I have Miss Chrissy Rossi.
This did not go well last time. Trying to keep the whole thing together. Here we go. Hi! So last night, I went to the building committee meeting. And at the building committee meeting, I could not hear everything that was being said. It could be, I'm old, it could be whatever. But I thought I understood that we approved a budget of $89,000 for painting doors at Waddington. Did I understand that correctly? Okay, so does that include procurement of doors, or is that in another budget somewhere?
I just want to remind again, not just yourself, but just the committee, that we've decided at the beginning of the year that we wouldn't be having a back and forth like a Q&A forum. It would be solely just a comment from a member of the public. Again, public comment. We want this time to be yourself and expressing whatever concerns or questions that you may have, but we would then follow up with you afterwards, just to make sure that we are providing the most accurate information. So I just want to let you know again.
No problem. I will spill it all out for you, and you can tell me whether somebody can email me, somebody can tell me whether I'm right or wrong, okay? So last night, I heard we were paying $89,000 to paint 89 doors at Waddington. That's $1,000 a door. So didn't sit well with me. I reached out to some friends who have painting expertise, because I do not. Gallon of paint, on a decent can of paint, you're looking at $60. Same thing for primer. We have 2 painters on staff, since we're already nickel and diamond stuff, to save $7,500. I'd like to save about, I don't know, 80 grand if we could. We could paint, so a 36-inch door painted both sides, that's 40 square feet. A gallon of paint covers 400 square feet. I just, maybe I misunderstood, and that's why I came up here, and I know you don't want to talk to me about it, and that's fine. So somebody can send me an email to either correct me or tell me why we're spending an additional $80,000 to paint doors. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Tori Jessup Crowley, please.
Good evening. Just a couple of questions about the policies that we went over tonight. First, I'd just like to ask if we can just have some more transparency on the policy viewing prior to meetings. I know I spoke with the city and I have spoken to Mr. Queenan about this. If we can have a hyperlink and a PDF form when we submit to SOS so parents can view these ahead of time. So if we have any questions or if parents can't attend, they can ask you questions. That would be appreciative. And I know that the city is also willing to work with you to cross-post that on their calendar as well, since our website is still not working properly. So the behavior policy and the code of conduct, I just want to make sure that the same consequences are universal at all schools, please. Because I think that would help a lot. In regards to the student representative, I just want to make sure that that student, I know we're looking at the high school student, but if we can confer with the two middle school school councils to make sure that we're getting full representation of our student population. I know that we have those reports, but I know that also school the community, what do you call those? The student councils should be able to have some introductions with that high school student if that becomes a position. And then I think you answered the question, but I just want to make sure that we are keeping the deans at every single school. We're just adding the position of assistant principal. No, we are not. So we are removing dean and replacing them with assistant. Got it. Okay. So as long as that's not going to tie up any dean issues that we are currently doing. The other thing I have to bring to your attention is, as you know, I follow a lot of educational policies here in the state of Rhode Island, and currently we have two bills in the House and the Senate that have been heard. They have not been come up for a committee hearing yet, but they have been referred to the Senate and House Finance Committee that in the past I've been able to come up with you and give you this notice that maybe you could possibly support it in a form of a letter or whatnot, but this is benefiting all of our students as much as Craig has been able to full force to get a lot of those applications in for free and reduced lunch. This particular bill of legislation would require free breakfast and lunch to be provided to all elementary, secondary students attending public schools. This is the second year that this legislation has been put into play, and I think that we need to hear from constituents into the State House. So if we can support this as a body, as a school committee, I would, as a mom, and I know as our finance director probably would also agree that we could, if we could all save some money somewhere and we can help benefit all of our students in one body, I would appreciate some sort of written testimony or whenever hearings come up to play, if anybody can spread that word, as a verbal testimony is always nice to have with the Senate and the House. And that's everything that I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
The next item is action items.
It seems like several members of us up here had asked for additional documents regarding the assistant principal's positions. So at this time, just throwing it out there, maybe we can consider a vote to support a proposal of the dean positions to assistant principal positions at the elementary schools, just so that the superintendent has the support of the committee to move forward with putting together the entire proposal for the school committee to consider and vote on at a future date once that's all set. That's just something I'm throwing out there just based on our conversation under the discussion item. So I'll entertain a motion on that. Again, a vote to support a proposal of the superintendent to convert the dean positions to assistant principal positions at the elementary schools. So that would be the entirety of what I'm
So
putting out there.
I would support exactly what Ryan said. So I would support tonight creating vice principals at the schools and support it based on everything he mentioned earlier. Salary range, exception of Waddington, and looking at a contract.
Financial impact.
And financial impact. Because again, I do think it's the right thing for schools, and I think it's the right thing for students, but I would like all that stuff.
Is that kind of, so I'm kind of confused now, because I thought that was kind of what you were looking for, like, we're in support of this, but we still want additional information to look at, so I'm just trying to figure out where we're at. I guess I'm looking at you now, Ryan.
Are we back to discussion, or are we talking about?
No, I was making a motion, but the only way I could make it is saying.
To have all that.
I would make
Yeah.
a motion for this to go forward as long as we get all that stuff that you listed.
Question I have, suppose we don't like the stuff we got and we make a motion to keep going forwards. I'm lost here a little bit. I understand what you said, I understand what Jeff said.
I was discussing, right, okay.
I mean, the floor is up to the committee. Either, change what's on, up for the committee to consider for today, as is, or make an addition at the tail end of it, or, again, what I had
So
said at the beginning,
I do have a salary range, which I said in the state, they range from 90 to 107, so 95 to 105 would be the salary range. But again, the salary range needs approval by the school committee, and that's usually a separate item. And the fiscal impact, the deans are all making more than that right now, and it would only be a conversion of 2. So, and I honestly wouldn't know that until we have candidates, whether they'd be at the 95 or the 105 range. It all depends on experience. Most will come in at the lower to mid range. Most people are not going to start at the top of the range.
So then I guess lastly, it would be ensuring the support is in place at Waddington Elementary.
Which I can assure you that I'm not looking to change that as far as numbers go. I'm not looking to reduce support. It is a big school.
And just to reiterate, the MOA, that's
So the
essentially.
MOA is with the union on the transition I have here. It's in draft form, but we finalized it.
So after hearing that, again, thank you. I would make a motion to convert the dean positions to assistant principal positions at the elementary schools.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yes, as is. Sorry. Max. And all that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays?
Nay.
That's been approved. Again, to confirm, just as is on the agenda, to convert the dean positions to assistant principal positions at the elementary schools. Just to again confirm for Sharon on her end. And lastly, we have the award for Riverside Middle School, the RFP. I'll turn the tables over to Craig.
Thank you. So on February 29th, we issued an RFP for furniture, fixtures, and equipment for RMS, specifically for the library and the science room work that we're doing through the Facility Equity Initiative grant with RIDE. So tonight, I'm asking you for 3 awards. Monitor Equipment Company, $32,086, primarily for library shelving and mobile bookcases. Sheehan's Office Furniture for $48,586, and this is for library soft seating and chairs. And then WB Mason for $66,500 for teacher desks, mobile science tables, and some additional library soft seating. The total budget for FF&E for our project is $180,000. With the recommended awards that I'm asking you to make tonight, we are approximately $32,000 under budget. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Craig before?
Yes, can I have a
Yes.
Craig, just a couple, I don't know if we can, is this furniture gonna have to be put together by our guys? Anything coming together? How is it gonna be delivered? Would it be delivered directly to the school?
Yes, so it would be going directly to the school. Much of the library furniture that we have here at the high school, which was delivered and assembled by WB Mason, is going to be the same stuff that's going to be going over there. I can follow up with you, but I believe WB Mason will be doing each of the individual companies will be doing the deliveries and as well as the assembling. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think all our guys would do is if we need to move it around. So.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments regarding this? I'll entertain a vote to approve, or I should say to award, the Riverside Middle School FF&E RFP. Is there a motion? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Well, let's say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Are there any nays? All right. Next item, please.
The next item is announcements.
I actually have one announcement. So Dr. Bola has secured how many spots? Do we know? 42 spots for Camp Invention again this year. It'll be split into 2 weeks, June 24th through July 8th and July 8th through 12th. It'll be held at Myron Francis. Space is very much at a premium this summer with all the construction, so we've kind of had to shuffle things around a little bit to accommodate everything. We will have 2 sessions of camp. Registration will be coming out soon. Can't get the mic.
You've had it. Any additional announcements? All right. Next item, please. Next item,
The next
please.
item is adjournment. The next item is adjournment.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Aye. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Well, let's say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.